hit record. I'm going to do that now. All right. All right, so we'll get started. I will try to continuously add people in as I see them coming in. But thank you all for attending another Pep Talks. Today we're going to talk a little bit about fundraising, and we've got a few special guests. So if you haven't been on here before, my name's Justine. I'm the Grand Vice President for Collegiates. We also have with us our Grand Treasurer, Melissa O'Brien, past Grand President Jenny Brandt, and then our Trust Liaison Committee Chair, Tiffany Vickers. So hi, everyone. Thanks for joining. So I'm going to kind of go through some objectives for today. I know some of you have been struggling with fundraising during a pandemic, which is totally understandable. I think a lot of our chapters have needed to make a lot of adjustments during the past, I guess, year at this point for a lot of their previous fundraisers on how to do things a little bit more virtually and have needed to maybe completely change what they're currently doing for fundraising. So we'll talk a little bit about some ideas that you can do, and we'd be happy to hear if anyone also has any suggestions on things that have worked really well. You can feel free to put something in the chat or send any questions to me privately through the chat as well, and we can bring up questions at the end for our guests too. We're also going to talk specifically, and that's why we have our guests here. Oh, hold on. To talk a little bit about our 3 areas of donations for chapters. So Campaign for Progress, as well as Project Hope, our philanthropy, and the Educational Trust. And I forgot to put in, but how to submit donations. I think I forgot a slide about that. That's okay. So when we talk about kind of virtual fundraising, we realize that there's been a lot of changes and many differences, more challenges that are there. So we recognize that, things may be visually a little bit different, and donations and fundraising may be down this year in comparison to other years, but there's, I think, a lot more options as well. So it may take a little bit more planning and more creativity. Your previous years of what you're usually doing may not be applicable for this year. So there's definitely also a large variety that we've noticed that I'm going to review as well in some of our donations that we see to our variety of things to donate to. So Campaign for Progress, Project Hope, and the Educational Trust between different chapters. And so we'll kind of bring that to light and talk a little bit about more about how important those different programs are so that your chapters can make sure that you're donating appropriately. So this I just put together a couple fundraising ideas that I've noticed throughout different chapters this year through their minutes. Some people have been doing, continue to do restaurant fundraisers, and we'll talk specifically about those in a little bit as well. Virtual fashion shows or trivia nights, murder mysteries, virtual escape rooms, hiring LKS members to do babysitting or to clean up yards or something like that. I've seen a lot of people creating stickers, laptop stickers or water bottle stickers, mask sales, selling something needed for schools. That's specifically, I think Alpha Row does a goggle sale for a lab. And so everybody needs them, and they kind of have captured the market on that. And so they're able to sell those to their school. Business cards, collecting and returning cans and bottles. If you have people living on campus, that might be a good way, especially if you live in a state that gives you 5 cents back, which are only certain states. Otherwise, you have to bring them to a scrapyard and get money. Funds to Orgs is an organization that collects shoes, and based on how much you can collect, they'll give you money back. So you can go on their website. You can put different bins in different areas around your campus or town and collect shoes that way. And depending on how much you can give back to them and they come and collect, they'll cut you a check. Penny Wars, just reaching out to your alumni and soliciting for donations, creating care packages for students throughout your entire school of pharmacy. I find anything that can get beyond just continuing to push and ask for money from your chapter alone is a really great way to ask to get additional funds. So if you can capture, the email addresses or addresses of other parents or family members of other students in your school of pharmacy, and you can solicit them for seeing if they wanted to send care packages. doing a virtual run or walk. I know a lot of people have done virtual hope walks, which has gone really well. Doing virtual yoga and exercise classes, or scheduling a new movie viewing and having people pay to do that. So since a lot of movies are coming out on HBO Max, or you can pay $20 or whatever it is for like a new movie on Disney Plus, having people pay to view that together virtually. So I want to talk a little bit about restaurant fundraisers, and this is absolutely my 2 cents, the good and the bad on restaurant fundraisers. I think it's a very easy fundraiser to do. You can go on Group Rise, which is something that I had only recently found out about. You can sort by your zip code and find different restaurants and how much they're willing to donate back. And so they now also will often do that on takeout and delivery given COVID. So that I think is really helpful. I just kind of give a screenshot of local to Boston where I am. So some of the challenges with restaurant fundraisers is that they often limit you on which night you can do it, and often it's a slower night for them. And in order to have orders count, you have to show a copy of a flyer or use a certain code, which means that you as an organization have to give that code to people. And so if you don't do a good enough job advertising or getting the word out, or it's just you as your chapter, then you're not capturing other people. So it's really helpful if you can find a restaurant that gives you a percentage of total sales from that night, which is really rare to find because they really don't want to give away too much of their money. So they want you to have to put in the work to get more people to the restaurant. There may also be a minimum that you have to hit before you get your percentage back as well. And all of that, if you go on Group Rise, all in there. So here are my thoughts, my 2 cents, even though it says $2 signs. If it's just going to be your chapter in attendance because you can't advertise and get enough people around, is it going to be worth it as far as getting money back? So I gave an example of if a restaurant was going to give 20% back. So an LKS sister is purchasing a $12.50 dinner. They require $250 minimum. So there's 20 orders. You end up getting $50 back to donate. The alternative, have everyone still donate $12.50 as they would have, and instead buy pizza for the group, if you can, gather safely, and then donate the remainder, which is ends up being 3 to 4 times the amount to whatever organization, Project Hope or Campaign for Progress or the Trust. Or even better, swipe everybody into the dining hall for a nice sisterhood group dinner and donate the entire $250 or more if you have more sisters, of course. So that's my 2 cents / $2 signs on restaurant fundraisers, unless they give you a portion of the total sales, I would say. All right. I wanted to kind of review as well, all this information is coming from the annual reports from last year. So in general, and we're going to talk about each one of these different programs to donate to. Project Hope, I would say, is probably the most well-known about thing that LKS has donations coming towards. So with Project Hope, we've got donations pretty much across the board. This was out of 28 chapters that filled out the annual report. So the average donation from a chapter is $695, which is fantastic. It ranges though from $0 to $5,800. So we've got one chapter that's donating $5,800, which is probably bringing up that average for a majority, because you can see that there's 6 chapters donating $0, a couple chapters donating under 500, and then we've got 11 chapters donating 500 or more dollars. Okay. Now we're going to look at the trust. The trust is very different. So we're thinking that maybe people don't know enough about the trust, which is why we've got Tiffany here to talk a little bit more about what the trust is. You kind of see that and you're like, I don't know, should I donate to this? I'm not exactly sure what this means. So out of the 28 chapters, 17 of them donated $0. And we've got one chapter donating over $1,000, and then a handful of different chapters donating anywhere from, essentially $1 to under $1,000, with an average being $125. Similarly, for Campaign for Progress, I think people are also a little unsure. What is Campaign for Progress? What does that mean? It's a little nebulous. So the average donations from a chapter is $51.43. 23 out of 28 chapters donated $0, but we still have one chapter donating $1,000. This is the same chapter, by the way, that's donating these top numbers. And then a couple other chapters donating in these amounts in between. Okay. All right. So what I would like to do, I'm going to turn it over to Jenny first and have her talk a little bit more about Project Hope, which it seems like people know a lot about, but I want Jenny to make sure that we can, everyone is kind of on the same page with Project Hope.
All right, so thank you, Justine. For those of you who don't know, I actually served as the Project Hope chair for like 12 years or so. And so this is something that's very near and dear to my heart. It does make me happy to see so many people donating, but I think we can always be doing more. So Justine, if you want to go to the next slide. All right, so for those of you who don't know, Project Hope is an international organization. That's always really important in your marketing. When people recognize that it's a big organization, sometimes they're more likely to donate. But it was founded in 1958 to provide health opportunities for people everywhere. That's actually what Project Hope stands for. We actually made it our official philanthropy in 1964. We actually had a sister from Delta chapter who volunteered on the ship. That's actually how it started. It was the SS Hope. And it went to different areas around the world. But shortly thereafter, we had sisters volunteering on it and therefore made it our official philanthropy. And it has been ever since. Project Hope really focuses on 5 main areas: disasters and health crises. This actually started mainly in Banda Aceh in Indonesia in I think 2004 or 5 with the tsunami. But they've been there for every major disaster, both within our country and internationally since. They're also working with infectious diseases. They do a lot of HIV clinics and things like that in South America, in Latin America, and in Africa. They also work on non-communicable diseases. They also do a lot with maternal, neonatal, and child health. They do these really cool clinics almost where they will give a mother a loan to start a business. And when we're talking loan, we're talking like $100 or less. So they start their business. But part of that is that the mother then has to participate in business classes, in healthcare classes. And so it's a way of bringing up the entire community and helping the mother as well. And then they also work a lot on health policy. They actually have an internationally known journal that they publish on healthcare policy. Their focus, though, it's not just that they go into an area, give them a bunch of stuff and leave. Their focus is on interventions that provide a sustainable benefit. They do a lot of teach the teacher kind of things with local healthcare groups. And although they've built hospitals and things, they've made sure that the local people are able to continue that legacy. So that's a really great and unique thing in a lot of ways. Also, really important to know is that more than 85% of the funds that anyone donates go directly to the people it serves. That's actually also pretty unique. Many organizations have a lot lower number. I looked actually just yesterday and I was surprised. Some of the organizations have improved over the years. American Heart Association gives about 80%. American Cancer Society is, I think, in the 75% range. Some organizations are 50%. So really, most of the money that you're giving is going directly to the people who need it the most. Next slide. So I wanted to give you guys a little bit of sort of the things I've learned over the years. I am not a fundraiser by nature. I don't like to ask people for things. But over the years, I've had to become better at it, both for LKS and then also I do a lot of work with our elementary school PTO. So number one tip is make sure people know what you're raising money for. Um, you guys talked about campaign for progress and not really knowing what it's for. Well, if we tell people that, you know what, we are working to do this recruitment boot camp, believe it or not, those are the years where we actually make more money in that for campaign for progress. Same thing at our local school. If we were just telling people, oh, we're raising money for the PTO, they might not give as much money as if we said, we're raising money for so that we can buy smart boards for all of the rooms. People give a lot more money if they know that their money is going for something good. Same thing with Project Hope. We've actually seen some of our most successful ventures and most successful fundraising periods are right after a disaster, where we send out information, hey, we're raising money for this disaster. And people give a lot more money. So make sure people know what you're raising money for. Make your appeal personal. It's a lot harder to say no to someone who is asking you personally for money or personally for something than it is, that blanket sort of email. If you've ever participated in like a jump rope for heart or heart walks or things like that, that's the reason why they ask you when you're sending out the emails to put what you call the person. Same thing there. Even if you do a handwritten note, things like that, that can actually go a long way. Whatever you're deciding to fundraise for, whatever your approach is going to be, you need to incorporate what we call WIFM, what's in it for me. Sadly enough, people don't just give money to give money, okay? They want to know that their money is going to get them something, all right? People want to know, oh, I'm going to give this and I'm going to get a t-shirt in return, or I'm going to give, actually, I just did this yesterday. I gave money to the Delaware has a campaign where they're working on opioids and the opioid crisis. Well, if I gave $50, I got to go to a virtual Jimmy Allen concert. And so incorporate something where people are getting something back, okay? Set goals, both for your group as a whole and individual goals. You want a stretch goal, but still make sure that it's realistic, okay? You would be surprised how often people go, oh, you're only $20 away. Here you go. Here's $20. I know I see it with my mother and my mother-in-law. Every time my kids have something, they're like, oh, we just need another $50. Here you go. Okay. When you're planning your event, keep your overhead in mind. It's nice and a nice touch to do, oh, let's have snacks and water bottles, or let's have a t-shirt. But keep in mind that t-shirt can cost you $9 or $10, right? Which takes away from the ultimate goal. Okay, so you just have to kind of keep all of that in mind. I know one chapter was doing an online raffle. Great. However, I don't think that they really considered when they opened it up to everyone that they would then have to pay shipping if someone won, which can add up as you're shipping more and more things, okay? You may want to look for sponsors. Local sponsors are best. It essentially is free advertising money for them. I know for the PTO, we use a lot of local businesses, and we make sure that all of our school knows that, hey, this pizza came from Spizzico, or, Whimsicality donated this, or Blue Crab Cupcakes brought us cupcakes, so we make sure that people know. So it's free advertising for them, and they can usually write it off as well. Also, and this isn't just during COVID, but do make sure you're working with your school and your local government to ensure that you're following protocols, okay? When you do something like a Hope Walks, you have to usually rent the space or get a permit for the space that you're using. Or if you're doing a, yoga on the quad, you might have to work with the school to block off that area. So just something to think about. And then, especially for something like Project Hope, you want to make sure that you're incorporating education into the events. Part of this is spread the word about what a great organization Project Hope is. Next slide. Okay. So some of the successful fundraisers over the years. Hope Walks is obviously sort of the signature event that we've done for Project Hope over the past 10 years or so. It actually started at a new chapter at Drake and has grown from there. We've often done it at convention as well. I always personally like something that is not brings two purposes together. I like to, get up and get out and walk and have a sense of community. So I think that something like this is a great event because you're also raising money, but having fun while doing it. Something else we've done at convention for several years, we kind of stopped when we started doing Hope Walks, was we called it Change for Hope. This was really just taking up a collection among all of the people who were there. We had, if you know Luciana Doolin, she was the one, or Luciana Lawson now, she was the one who would go around and I don't know how she did it, but she was great about getting people to open up their wallets and just put in, $1 here, $1 there. And without a lot of effort, we were able to raise $200 or $300. On your campus, Penny Wars or something similar is always a fun activity. It's a way to get your entire school involved. So she also, or you can also get your dean of students might be a good person. I know our elementary school, they love to throw a pie in the principal's face. So maybe your dean of students might be willing to do that. Or if there's something else that they're willing to give in return, okay? Any type of thon, dance-a-thon, walk-a-thon, yoga-thon, bike-a-thon, whatever you want to do is a good way to get people involved, builds a sense of community. You can do a lot of these things virtually, or you can do them outside, which is always a great alternative right now with COVID. Raffles are also often good. These can be like raffles and auctions where you're actually winning something. I do want to warn you, 50-50 raffles can be problematic in some states, so check your local regulations. I know Justina is not a big fan of this, but the restaurant or night out events are often a good opportunity to raise some money and build a sense of community. They don't usually take a lot of planning, which is the other good thing. But Justine is right, where you don't necessarily make the most money you can. And then a lot of chapters actually just use one of their usual fundraisers and turn it into a fundraiser for Project Hope. So, all right. So here is some information on Project Hope. If you need more information, Project Hope, the Project Hope website is a great option. You can actually print some things off right from the website as well. You can actually contact Project Hope for flyers and swag. That's what we do for the Project Hope events or the Hope Walks events at convention. Our contact person, I will say, changes like every year or so, but currently, as of yesterday, is Morgan Lewis, and you can email her at this address. She does respond to email pretty quickly, I will say. Project Hope also has a real big network of volunteers and speakers across the country. And so if you say, hey, I want to have someone from Project Hope talk about this mother and baby thing for Hygeia Day or whatever, they can send a speaker. Some of them might be local, so it's pretty easy, and they can probably do it virtually as well. And regardless of what you do, make sure that you're creative and have fun with it. It's not supposed to be work, it's supposed to be fun.
I was gonna say, thanks so much, Jenny. I'm gonna pass it. I'm gonna pass it over to Tiffany so she can talk a little bit about the Educational Trust and the Trust Liaison Committee.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for having me, Justine. Great job, Jenny. You had a lot of great tips in there. And going back to the what's in it for me, there's a farm here in Louisville that Aiden and my mom and I like to go to, and they have horses and sheep and lambs, and it just so happens they're doing a fundraiser to buy grass seed and fencing for their meadow, and they had 3 little lambs born on Valentine's Day, so they are doing a naming contest. So of course, they got quite a bit of money out of me just so I had the opportunity to name a lamb, of which one suggestion might have been Ethel. So that's just a great example of the what's in it for me. I'll keep you posted on if Ethel wins. The other suggestions were Elsa, Aphrodite, Venus, and Juno, because they were born on Valentine's Day. So maybe we'll see Ethel in the mix. But I'm very excited. I just took over as trust chair on January 1st. So I was ready to hit the ground running, and I've been working with Joan. We want to, at the trust, be more visible within the fraternity and also make better connections with our collegiate members in fostering a new generation of donors to help sustain the trust for the future. So other LKS sisters have the opportunities for education, for grants, and things of that nature. So if you're a collegiate member, I'm going to talk a little bit about why the trust is important, and how you as collegiate members can support the trust. And also, I'd really love to get a Survey Monkey out before the end of the semester to get a lot of the collegiate feedback on how the trust can maybe better serve you, be more appealing to you, things of that nature. So we're connecting with our collegiate members on a level that they need to be connected with. So next slide. So just a little bit about what we do at the trust. I basically kind of compare the trust liaison committee to Grand Council for the fraternity. So Grand Council oversees the activities of the fraternity. The TLC is basically the e-board of the trust. Even though the trust is under the purview of Grand Council, we kind of work together. We have to for legal purposes. But there are 9 of us on the committee, and we serve 5-year terms. And then you have to come off for at least a year, and we just try to get new blood of members on the trust. So that's kind of who we are. We mostly oversee the financial stewardship. So that's the investments we have as far as like our endowed grants and things like that. They're invested so that we're continually making money on what we have, and we can use the financial word fails me now, but we're using the interest, thank you, from what we have invested to pay for the grants. So basically we always have seed money that never declines, and we're using that interest to pay for the grants that we award on an annual basis. Part of this is also fundraising. You know that the auction at convention is primarily our source of fundraising. Everybody seems to love it. Jenny Brandt herself has been known to go in pretty hard for some items. We've had quilts that have been made by Justine that have brought lots of money before. Those are always big hits. LKS jewelry, designer handbags, those seem to do really well. We oversee the amount of the grants and the number of grants that are awarded to our collegiate members every year. And it also just so happens that we have the grants committee chair on the call today. So I'm going to give a shout out to Sarah because she does an amazing job at coordinating the application process. And those of us at the trust, we just communicate to Sarah what we're sponsoring for that year, so she knows how to guide the scoring of the grant process. We also sponsor fraternity educational opportunities. So in the past, we've done the poster sessions, the core value poster session at convention. We will sponsor speakers, anything that's kind of in the educational opportunity. I know this year we're looking at sponsoring the CE credits. So anything like that, the trust is giving money to, and a lot of people may not be aware that those are things that we can do under the purview of the trust, as long as it has to do with education. It's not just the grants. And then obviously we have the trust celebration, I guess, at convention as well. And that's typically one of the most highly rated events. Sometimes we change it up, but I know Joan said the one in Milwaukee was on the surveys, the favorite event, and we had dessert and champagne and a DJ, and it's lots of fun when we can do things like that. Another way our students can give is, like, if you have a friend who's getting married or graduating or having a baby, those are all things that have happened to a lot of us recently. You can do a memorial or celebration, and the trust will recognize that and give a shout out to the person who the money has been donated to. So that's a way to recognize sisters' accomplishments and things like that. The most important thing is that almost all the money that's donated to the trust goes to the direct benefit of the membership. So we keep expenses really pretty low. Joan and Alpha Resources, they do manage kind of more of our day-to-day activities like they do Grand Council. So we do pay them a fairly minimal management fee, but that is one expense that we have. We do pay our financial fiduciaries. I think right now it's through Comerica, but they cut the checks, they oversee the investments. There's always fees associated with that. We did recently make a change that saved us $3,000 a year, I believe. So we are always looking at ways to be better stewards of our money, but that doesn't mean that we have no expenses at all. We do have other minimal operating costs just for like mailings that we do. Just little things that you don't think about, but I'd say it's way upwards of 90%. All the money donated goes directly back to benefit our membership, and that's very important to us with the educational opportunities through the grants and other opportunities. Okay. So just a little bit about the grant process. The applications are due every year on January 15th. We've been giving out $13,000 annually. So there are typically about 7 Craven grants, so that equals $7,000, and then the rest are listed are single grants. Only one recipient gets the Wells, the Livingston, the Lowe, the Haberly, and then the B. Olive Cole. The B. Olive Cole is actually a little bit higher amount than the others. It's $2,000, and there is a very specific requirement with that one, and it is for a sister who is enrolled in a postgraduate study, or it can be concurrently with your PharmD. We have a lot of applicants who are currently finishing up their PharmD as well as like an MBA or something. But that is the one caveat that makes that grant a tad different. So that's $13,000 every year that we give directly back to our sisters, and they are able to use that money in the best way they see fit to further their education, whether it be for tuition or living expenses, so they don't have to work as much. We're currently in the midst of the grant process right now and reading over a lot of the applications. It was really eye-opening to see how many personal challenges a lot of these sisters have had this year, obviously given COVID, and parents who have lost jobs or who have been furloughed or had hours cut. So it's really affected our membership across the board. So it'll be really exciting to give out $13,000 to our members this year, especially with the hardships a lot of them have faced. And obviously, if anybody has questions for me, Sarah's also a great resource about the grant process, then don't ever hesitate to reach out to any of us. We are looking at adding some additional grants. We have one kind of in process at the moment, So we would love to bring that on board for the 2022 cycle. And I'm going to be working really hard with the rest of the trust to make that happen for next year. We're very excited about it. We have a sponsor who is also very excited about it, an LKS sister whose idea it was. So definitely stay tuned for that, and hopefully you'll see it next year.
Thank you so much, Tiffany.
Yeah,
I appreciate that. And I meant to change this to Campaign for Progress, but that's what it's meant to say. It says it below here, so we're just going to ignore that it says Educational Trust. We all make mistakes.
That's okay.
I'm going to pass it to Melissa, our Grant Treasurer.
Thank you, Justine. Thank you so much for having me. So just for clarification purposes, since everyone seems that Campaign for Progress is a little nebulous as to what it is, we are not part of the Educational Trust. Ultimately, you can go to the next slide, please. Campaign for Progress is a financial appeal and that really invests in LKS and its members, and it really is looking to keep us relevant and keep us around for an extended period of time. Ultimately, it's a voluntary contribution, and we really look to help improve the fraternity. And so, and as Jenny had mentioned earlier, we do set, goals for Campaign for Progress. I usually share that when I present the budget at convention, or at least recently, as I've been your treasurer for a couple of bienniums now. But usually, we do share that. And sometimes we do have very focused initiatives in where these funds are going. Next slide, please. So some of the places where you may not have realized Campaign for Progress ultimately funded the projects were the initial website creation. So back in the 90s, being able to engage prospective members and families, or anyone who wanted to look into LKS and really have a better understanding of the organization. The original website was funded by Campaign for Progress. And that was everything from the design to setting up the server, putting together all the content and structure, and having all of that took really a lot of time and resources in designing everything. Our customer relationship management system, our CRM system, which really, as when you log in on the website to go and pay your dues. So it's called Member Suite that we used. But again, this was in order to digitize everything. Back in the day, everything used to have to go via, snail mail, as they call it, or paper postage, mailed to headquarters, and everything was tracked manually and documented manually in order to update and keep tabs on active members and things of that. So again, using collecting funds to use to bring us forward with the times and have these systems where users and members can go in and directly manage. Hey, I need to update my address. Oh, I want to update my credit card to pay my dues, or things of that nature. The blue and gold triangle redesign. For you collegiates, you may be too young to know that the blue and gold triangle was originally printed in blue and gold. I have a picture there of the two images, the one on the left. So just imagine all of our photos from convention and any events literally used to be printed in shades of blue. And so we realized, again, we needed to come forward with the times and really have a more engaging presence with the work that we're doing, and have it reflect the level of care and quality that we're delivering to the profession as a whole. And so that was a campaign. And now we have the beautiful blue and gold triangle. That's this high resolution magazine quality publication that comes to you, and that we're proud to be able to share with the deans of pharmacies, so that they know what your local chapters are doing, and for you to share with your families as well. rebranding. So again, for those who are newer, may not know that we came out with a rebranding recently. So our current website has our members, photos on their website. It's not stock pictures. So we spent a lot of money in having a photo shoot. We spend a lot of resources in regards to updating our logo, updating our fonts, and being fresh. And again, coming into this 21st century of being competitive in the recruitment field and not looking like an antiquated organization. The reveal swag, so those who are at convention and were there for the reveal got a lovely goodie bag, and any new members also kind of got some care packages when they signed up and got like the little stickers and a whole bunch of things that were sent out. And then most recently, we know that 2020 convention was switched to virtual means due to COVID, and Campaign for Progress helped with that, just given the financial demands that came with the electronic platform to bring convention to you. So again, really, Campaign for Progress is ultimately investing back into the members. Jenny had mentioned boot camp earlier. When I was a collegiate way back in the day, and Justine and I first became friends, we did a boot camp, and really, it was a multi-day dynamic interactive structure for recruitment. Campaign for Progress, appeal is what supported that as well. So all of this goes back into you as the members, for your chapter, and again, for the long-term sustainability for LKS to be here for future generations, that we hope you continue to contribute to as you progress into your alumni years, so that we can continue to bring all the quality offerings that LKS has in elevating women in pharmacy for generations to come. I'm actually meeting with my budget and finance committee tomorrow with headquarters staff, and we'll be working to engage the membership to see what is the next thing we're looking for in regards to if there is a very focused initiative or an opportunity that we're maybe, I'm not aware that we're missing and that we have to do more. There's been talk about standardizing recruitment materials and videos that all chapters can use. And again, doing an appeal for that. So we're going to work because we want to hear from you, and we want to know what will be meaningful to invest in you, so that we continue to support you as the membership and grow as an organization. And like I said, just stay relevant and advanced so that we continue to elevate women in pharmacy for years to come. But if there's any questions or concerns, please feel free to reach out to me. I'm always available. My email is on the website. I believe my cell phone number might be as well. But I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have. But thank you.
Thanks so much, Melissa. Appreciate it. Kind of just to wrap things up, fundraising always comes with its challenges. There's still a lot of ways that you can still fundraising in a virtual world. Keeping those attitudes positive and maybe adjusting your expectations, trying some new things are all ways to try to continue to be successful. Reach out to your other chapters and to alumni for suggestions, and not forgetting to make your annual donations, which I believe you can just make through HQ, or probably is the best way to do that. But I'm happy to open it up to any questions that you have. Before I do that as well, the next Pep Talks, first Saturday of every month. So April 3rd at 12, we're going to be talking about improving officer transitions and standardizing officer responsibilities. And that will hopefully be some good back and forth too. We're looking for some input from chapters. And but yes, what questions do you have? I know there was some suggestions. Robin mentioned selling day-old donuts. As a previous Dunkin' Donuts employee in high school, Yes, we used to throw away all the donuts at the end of the day, but if you put them into your oven and don't turn the oven on, it would keep them nice and fresh and like rehydrate them for the next day. So that would be, if they're willing to give them to you, then they would probably stay pretty good. But yeah, what questions do y'all have for us in open-ended fashion?
I guess I have one as a region supervisor. So thank you all for sharing this. And I feel really good about supporting my chapters as a region supervisor. But one of my questions is, when I look at how chapters kind of focus on their fundraising, I mean, it is hard, like, to have a fundraiser specifically geared toward this and specifically geared toward that. And I think for a lot of them, because they know the most about Project Hope, it feels like they just kind of do, here's another Project Hope, here's another Project Hope. What kind of tips do you have, like, as I know there's a few of us region supervisors on, we can kind of support them in saying, okay, well, maybe one Project Hope fundraiser could be morphed into a campaign for progress, so that they're kind of evenly distributing their attention versus like putting all of their money in one, or like understanding how to fundraise for all and kind of balancing it that way. I think that's something that sometimes I see they kind of focus on Project Hope and then the rest are kind of in the background.
If I may, so Sarah, totally understood. And I think part of it goes back to visibility and line of sight in what we're doing, right? So Project Hope is always very present at convention because we do Hope Walks. And again, it's an international organization that it has had that national presence even recently with COVID and coming to assist. The trust, I think the trust does so much at convention, but I don't know that everybody knows that a scholarship is available to them. And just if you're a member, you can apply for this scholarship. And so, being able to promote your own members and saying, hey, we're doing a fundraiser that supports scholarships for women in pharmacy through LKS, right? That's a way to fundraise for the trust and for, again, advancement of your own members. It's much easier if you have someone that you can kind of show off and say, that's a great way to do. I'm going to take Robin's plug here. Robin said Amazon Smile is a big thing for the trust. I know my Amazon Smile is set for the trust, and God, my husband, I think, is probably upset with how much we've contributed through purchases. But again, it's just a passive way where you're not actually making any additional financial contributions, but you're still able to get the word out there, circulate that information, and have people that may not have it otherwise set up to anything to do so. But I think at the end of the day, it comes down to what fundraiser you're doing, what the school supports, and how that is. I know sometimes the schools, I believe Pi chapter had like the swipes fundraiser. So Project Hope was recognized as an organization that could receive that benefit. So they got a certain percentage of every meal card that was swiped throughout the entire university, right? So they donated like $5,000 the year I was the region supervisor to Project Hope. But again, that's because they won that from the school. So I think it's, identifying those opportunities as well as how you market them. I don't know, Tiffany, if you have anything else.
Yeah, I'm going to tell Sarah, like, this is something where I know the trust needs to improve on, and this is what I've definitely been working on Joan and Aaron with, and that's just the trust has not had the visibility and the connection it needs to foster that with that I guess, sense of connection with the collegiate members. So I feel like some of that is absolutely kind of on the part of the trust for not doing that. So we're trying, some of my ideas are, one, to make the grant recipients a bigger deal, to give them more fanfare for their accomplishments other than just getting their picture in the blue and gold triangle. So just simple things like that we can do so other collegiate members can see like, wow, look at these grant recipients, look at all the amazing things they've done, and it's just making it a bigger deal. So they want to foster that connection going forward. One of the other ideas I've had, I have not presented this to the trust yet, so it's just an idea at this point, but doing a raffle for every chapter or collegiate member who donates to the trust, putting them in a raffle for a free registration to convention, because convention is an educational opportunity, so it fits within the trust mission. So doing something like that. I personally would like to sponsor students to go to convention from the trust, because that totally fills our scope as an organization. So doing things like that to just foster those connections in the future, because I feel we've done a poor job of that.
I think another way to donate to the trust as well is chapter wise donating to the auction. So I know I've always kind of suggested to each chapter in previous years to, like almost every chapter should be donating something, whether that's putting together as a group a basket or anything that can go to the trust. I mean, how much larger would that trust auction be if 31 chapters donated an item or collected, various, small gift cards and things from sponsors, and or even collected $5 from each member and purchased something, and then was able to donate that. That's a huge thing that all could raise a lot more money for the trust as well. So sometimes you kind of have to think outside of the box a little bit more, and it doesn't have to be a specific fundraiser that you do to go towards the trust itself, but even just bringing in something small like that could bring in more money in the trust, because alumni are willing to pay ridiculous amounts of money for small things sometimes, because they know it goes to the trust. And I think a lot of times when you're raising money for the trust that can go back to you, you're really investing in yourselves.
Quilts, blankets, coach purses. Yeah.
And
Exactly.
to Justine's point with the alumni, like Alpha Pi chapter, we I don't want to say we make them meet a certain amount, but then the alumni actually double that contribution and do like a match for them. So it really engages them with saying, oh, well, then, hey, we get even more to support like scholarships for us. And they kind of know that we're good for it, but they have to start it and they have to put that initial work into it. And then we meet them, the rest of the way.
I would love to set a goal of money and then say, if we reach this money, like we'll do something like incredibly silly that the like collegians may want to see, like smash a pie in someone's face, or something of that nature to get them like involved as well. So I just haven't been able to like come up with something. I'll have to send this out on my Survey Monkey. Like, what would you like to see happen if you could meet a certain donation threshold? So.
And I think, Melissa, I've already talked to you about this, but I'll have to talk to Tiffany about this too, maybe afterwards. But I had a whole idea about punch cups,
Yep.
like a punch-a-wall thing. We'll talk about that later, though. So
we have to figure out how to make it virtual, just in case.
I know we can make it. We can make it work.
I feel like it has to do something with like Eugenia making a present.
Oh, maybe. Awesome. Anyone have any questions? Other than that. All right.
I did just want to share to Justine's point, so you can actually go on the website and donate to any of these items, whether Project Hope or Campaign for Progress or the Trust, and outside of just when you renew your dues. So when you go in to renew your dues and update, there's always that opportunity, but even outside of that, there's a donate link that you're able to do that as well.
Robin will pie an alumni. All right.
I would pay for that too.
Yeah, I'm down. All right. Well, we will let you guys go. We appreciate you all coming. I will send this out. I'll stop the recording.